Good morning or afternoon, depending on the class. Today we are going to continue systems of linear inequalities. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is go over a review boundary lines and shading. Okay, so if you have a less than or a greater than sign, that means that this is going to be a dashed line. Remember, it does not have a solid line underneath, so therefore that is a dashed line. Okay, and then if you have a less than or equal to or a greater than or equal to, that is going to be a solid line. Okay, solid line. All right, and then the shading is going to be, if you have a less than or equal to, this is going to be below the line, or in other words, less than the y-intercept. Less than y-intercept. Okay, so you can try to cram that in there. All right, and then if you have a greater than or equal to, that is going to be above. Okay, that's going to be above the line. Or in other words, greater than y-intercept. Greater than the y-intercept. And I'm going to abbreviate y-int. Okay, so make sure you got that all copied down. All right, so going on to this example here, this is what it would look like, more like a star test or a test for me. It's going to basically be digitally enhanced right here. So you have a shading of the blue line and you have a shading of the red line. Before we begin, all of you should have this corrected. If not, please correct this. This should not be greater than, this should be a less than or equal to. Okay, like I said, most of you should have that already corrected. If not, then please correct that to a less than or equal to. So you can see this blue line real quick is less than or equal to, so the shading here is going to be below the line, just like that. And then on the red line is also less than or equal to, so that's going to be below the line again. And you can see how the blue and the red intersect right at this section here. So all of this is going to be your solution set. Okay, so what are the solutions to a system of linear inequalities we talked about yesterday is going to be any coordinate or any ordered pair that satisfies both inequalities. Both, not both, it needs to be that satisfies, or basically makes both inequalities true. It satisfies both inequalities. Okay, inequalities. That's a little sloppy, but that's okay. All right, so as you copy that down, we are going to try to pick a coordinate that is a solution to both inequalities. Well, this dark shaded in section right in here where my laser pointer is going, right here is anywhere in here is a solution. So let's circle something that's right on a coordinate. Let's circle, I don't know, this one right here. We'll circle that one. That is going to be 2, I'm sorry, not 2. We are going to do 3, negative 2. 3, negative 2. Okay, so that is just one of many. Remember, you can have an infinite number of solutions to an ordered pair. Okay, or I'm sorry, infinite number of ordered pairs to a system of linear inequalities. All right, so I'm going to do example number 1 with you, and then I expect you guys to do the second example. See how there's 2 example ones? I'm going to do the one on the left. You guys can do the one on the right. All right, so the first one here, you can see how this is not in y equals mx plus b. So let's remind ourselves y equals mx plus b. Why? Because you can quickly indicate, or you can identify the m and the b to quickly graph. Okay, so let's do this equation or inequality at the top. I'll make this in red. We're going to transform this. So let me rewrite it. 3y is greater than or equal to x plus 6. And you need to just divide by the 3 on all sides, on both sides, I mean. And that means y is greater than or equal to 1 over 3x plus 2. All right, remember that if there is no number connected to your x, there is an invisible 1 there. So that is 1x over 3, or just simply 1/3 x. Okay, before we even think about the other equation or inequality, we're going to go ahead and graph this inequality by first identifying the m and the b. So m is equal to that 1/3, or number connected to the x, multiplying to the x. And the b is a 2, or that number added or subtracted onto the end. Okay, so finding 2 on your coordinate plane, we're going to go up to 2, which, I got to zoom in here. Okay, we're going to go up to 2, so that is going to be right in this area right there. And then our slope is 1 over 3, so we're going to go up 1 to the right, 1, 2, 3, and put another dot there. Up 1 to the right, 1, 2, 3, another dot. And we can put just a couple more. Down 1 to the left, 1, 2, 3, going the opposite direction. And down 1 to the left, 1, 2, 3, opposite direction. Okay, and now we needed to indicate, is this going to be a solid line or a dashed line? Well, if you remember at the top, if it has a solid line underneath it, then it's going to be a solid line on your graph. So let's connect this with a solid line. And the reason I did that, everyone go ahead and take your pen or pencil and circle the inequality sign. Inequality sign is greater than or equal to. That or equal to indicates solid line. Okay, and now the shading is going to be above because it's greater than, or numbers that are greater than the y-intercept. That is going to be 3, 4, 5, all the way to infinity, which are above the line. Okay, good. Now let's take care of the next line. So if you have not got this done yet, don't worry. I am going to zoom back out. Okay, so we are going to first subtract 2x and subtract 2x. There we go. All right, so now we got y is greater than negative 2x minus 5, and you see how nothing is multiplying to the y, so there's nothing to divide. We are done with that one. Now we can identify the m. The m is going to be negative 2, and remember a whole number, we need to put over 1 for the slope. And the b is going to be negative 5. All right, so let's zoom out here so we can graph this now. We want to graph the y-intercept of negative 5 and the slope of negative 2 over 1. Okay, so negative 5 is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down to negative 5. And the slope is, what is the slope again? It is negative 2 over 1. Okay, so that means down 1, 2 over 1. Down 1, 2 over 1 to the right. And you can also go the opposite way. You can go up 1, 2 to the left 1, up 1, 2 to the left 1. And let's just go until we cross. Okay, there we go. So now we need to draw a solid or a dashed line. Well, take your pen or pencil and go ahead and circle the inequality sign on the blue line. That does not have a solid line underneath. So that means that is going to be not a solid line, or in other words, a dashed line. I meant to do that in blue. Dashed line. Okay, very good. And let's go ahead and add our arrows on the end. Good. Okay, so now we need to figure out above or below the line. Well, if you look at your inequality sign again on your blue line, that is going to be greater than. So greater than means above the line. Or in other words, bigger than the y-intercept. Okay, so you see how the blue and the red intersect. All right, in this area here, so we're going to grab our pen or pencil and darken in just this section here. Just like that. Good. All right, perfect. Okay, so we need to figure out at the bottom of the page, we have some coordinates. We need to see, are these solutions or are they not? Okay, so I'm going to take care of the first one, negative 5 over, comma 1, negative 5, comma 1. Well, that's negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, comma 1. That's right here. You can see I highlighted in green. Well, that is not in the dark section, so let's put an X to that. That cannot be a solution. Negative 2, comma 4, negative 1, 2, comma 1, 2, 3, 4. That is right in that section. So that one is, yes, that is a solution. Everyone circle that one. Very good. And then 3, comma 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, this falls right on the line. Okay, so you ask yourself, is this a solid line or is it a dashed line? It is a solid line, so that means that it is a solution, because if it falls on this solid line, then it is a solution. Good. And then 2 comma negative 1. 1, 2 comma negative 1 falls right here. That is not in the dark section, so that is an X. And then negative 4 comma 3. Negative 1, 2, 3, 4 comma 1, 2, and 3. Well, if you were to graph another point on your blue line, you'd notice that that is right on the dotted line. And since it's on the dotted line, that means it cannot be a solution. Okay. All right, so this is the answer. All of our work is done here. We checked all of this coordinates down at the bottom. So I want you guys now to try the example here on the right. So please pause the video and try that. Okay, so you should have at least been able to graph that first inequality by just moving the x over, then dividing by the 3. So it should look something like this on your first line. The next line, the x is less than 3. I do realize that this sometimes gives us trouble, so I wanted to make sure I went over this. So this is going to be our blue line. X is less than 3. Let's highlight that in blue. If you have different colors, that would be beneficial. Okay, so since there's only one variable, just the x, that means that you only want to cross the x-axis at that number. Well, that number is positive 3. So that is going to be right here on the x-axis at positive 3. And then since they can only cross the x-axis, that means we have to think of some kind of line that will never cross the never cross the y-axis and only the x. So take a couple seconds to think about that. So hopefully some of you have thought of a parallel line to the y-axis or a vertical line. So we know this is going to be dashed because we have the inequality. So if you want, you can circle your inequality sign. Circle that inequality sign. And then we know that's going to be a dashed line. So basically it's just a dashed line all the way down. So it only crosses the x-axis. Okay, at 3. And then we got to figure out the shading. Okay, well, x is less than. So I know this one you can't go above or below. You have to go either right or left. Well, since x is less than, we want to think of the numbers less than the x-intercept or less than 3. Well, those are numbers all the way to the left. Okay, so all the numbers left. So I'm going to shade all the way over here. And you see how down here we have the shading. It intersects, the blue and the red intersect right down at the bottom, this bottom triangle here. So this is all that we're going to shade in here. We're going to shade this in nice and dark. All right, something right here. And then I'm going to let you guys pick out the points that are solutions or are not solutions. Okay, so when you finish that, you could either pause the video to get all this down, or you can go ahead and flip to the back. So I'm going to get rid of this guy. And we're going to flip to the back now. Example 3 and 4 are exactly like the other side, so I'm going to let you do that. Just pay special attention to this y is less than or equal to 4. You want to think of a line that only crosses the y-axis at 4. Okay, so going on to here, this is the more important part. It's dividing or multiplying by negative. Okay, so first let's take this first line here and let's transform it into y equals mx plus b. So 4x minus 5y is greater than or equal to negative 35. Okay, just like that. All right, so first things first is to subtract the 4x to both sides. Now you have just negative 5y is greater than or equal to, you cannot combine those, so that's minus 4x, or sorry, negative 4x minus 35, and then dividing by this negative 5. And this is what is really tricky here. Okay, you want to divide by this negative, so I want you to circle, and once again, a different color would be beneficial. I want you to circle this negative on all of them, and then I want you to circle the sign. Okay, so your new equation is going to be just y by itself, but the sign is going to flip. Okay, so let's make sure we circle this sign. The sign is going to flip over because we divided by a negative, so that turns into positive 4 over 5x, and this turns into positive 7. Okay, so we have, we can easily identify the m and the b since it's in y equals mx plus b. So the m here is 4 over 5, and that is a 4. Let's just erase that and redo it. This is a 4 over 5, and then your b is going to be 7. All right, perfect. So we go on our graph over here, and since our b is 7, we want to go up 7 on the y-axis. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. And the slope is 4 over 5. Well, if that's positive 4, positive 5, and go rise over run, I'm going to go up off the graph, so we have to go the other way. So instead of up to the right, we can go down 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it looks like that's all I can graph here. So I'm going to distinguish, do I need to draw this a dashed line or a solid line? Well, you can look at the inequality. This is going to be a solid line. So let's put a solid line on here, just like that. Perfecto. All right, and then we want to take care of the shading. Well, since we flipped the sign, that means the shading is below the line now because a less than sign. So we're going to go less than. Okay, good. Now let's take care of the other equation. So once again, if you did not get this down, don't worry. I will zoom back out so you can see it. All right, so this next inequality, hey, this is already in y equals mx plus b. We don't have to do anything. We can just label our m. Our m is going to be, if there's no number and it's just negative, that's -1. And then the b is going to be -2. And remember that slope is -1 over 1. Okay, and the b is -2, or the y-intercept is -2. All right, perfect. So now we're going to graph -2 on your y-axis. So -1, 2 right here. And then the slope is -1 over 1. So we're going to go down 1 to the right, down 1 to the right 1. And you can keep doing this. We can even go up until we intersect this line. We can go up to the left, up to the left, up to the left, up to the left, and up to the left. Okay? So now let's distinguish, is this going to be a solid line or a dashed line? Well, let's circle the inequality sign. Inequality sign does not have a line underneath it, so that means it's going to be a dashed line. So let's dash this. Okay, so is this going to be above the line or below the line? Well, we have a greater than sign, so that means above the line. So let's shade above. Okay, so do you see the crosshatches, the ones that you have red and blue? If you see that, then you should know that the darkened section should be right up in this region here. I encourage you to always check your answer. You can just pick any coordinate you want and plug it back into x comma y to figure out the solution. Okay, so you can circle anything. Let's just circle this coordinate here. That happens to be 2, 0. You can plug in that if you want, and it does not matter. Just pick anything to check your answer. Okay, so the rest of this worksheet is yours to do. I will display the answers. I have a worksheet, or we can pause the video and I will display the answers that way. Okay, so here is what you missed if I was going too fast or you weren't able to follow along. Here is complete number 5. Okay, so number 6 I want you to do, and also the 2 examples at the top of the page I want you to do. Okay, and that completes today.